Hi, I have a question to ask you. Do you feel like you are a lucky person? I know some people feel like they are really, really lucky, and other people feel that they are really, really not lucky. And I don't know which one you are, but this is a story that is all about luck. It's a story about a fellow named Jamie Creel, who was the unluckiest man in the world, or at least that's the way it seemed to him. It's not that he had bad luck, it's that he had no luck at all. He spent most of his free time sitting on a bench in the park in the middle of the town square, just shaking his head and bemoaning the fact that he had no luck to brag about to his friends. His best friend, Thomas McKittrick, was an aggravation to Jamie Creel because whenever Jamie would ask his friend Thomas how he was, Thomas McKittrick would always reply, "Tip top, tip top, I'm a lucky man." Now, the truth is, there wasn't 2 cents worth of difference between those two fellas in terms of looks or fortune or station in life, but Thomas McKittrick was convinced he was a lucky, lucky man. Jamie Creel was convinced he had no luck at all. And you know what? They were both right. One day, Jamie Creel was sitting there on the bench in the park in the middle of the town square, just shaking his head, listening to one fellow go on about, oh, how lucky he was. He just got a big new promotion at work. And then another fellow was saying he was even luckier than that. His beautiful sweetheart had just agreed to be his bride. And then a third fellow showed up, all rosy cheeked, rubbing his hands together, saying how lucky he was to be alive on such a fine, fine day. And Jamie Creel said, "That's it. That's it. I'm going to see her. I'm going to see the wise woman of Nachnamin to ask her why I haven't any luck." Like everyone else who lived in that little village, Jamie Creel had heard all his life about the wise woman of Nachnamin. She was an ancient woman with wild white hair and piercing blue eyes that could see straight into the heart of any person. She lived in a misty, musty rock cave at the top of Nachnamin Hill, and she could answer any question you put to her. But to get the answer to your question, you had to cross 7 mountains and 7 valleys and 7 rivers and 7 streams and 7 meadows and 7 forests. And if you didn't lose your way or give up on your journey, she would answer your question. So the next morning, Jamie Creel put his cap on his head, slung a sack full of his things over his shoulder, and he headed on up the road. And as he was approaching the edge of town, he happened to pass by the home of his good friend Thomas McKittrick, who was just coming out the gate, heading into town for a day's work. "Hello there, Thomas," said Jamie Creel. "How are you, my friend?" And as always, Thomas replied, "Tip top, tip top, I'm a lucky man. Where might you be going, Jamie?" "I'm going to see the wise woman of Nachnamin to ask her why I haven't any luck. She'll answer any question you put to her, you know. Is there anything you'd like me to ask her for you while I'm there, Thomas?" Hmm. Thomas thought a moment, and then he said, "You know, Jamie, I've always thought I was a lucky, lucky man. Why don't you ask her, what is the luckiest thing that will ever happen to me?" "Indeed I will," said Jamie Creel, and he headed on up the road. And after he had traveled a week and a day, he came to a clear blue stream of water, and he thought, oh, this would be a fine place to stop and fill my water jug. And as he bent down towards the water, he heard the rustle of leaves, someone approach, and looked up to see a large dog, or what had once been a large dog, but now was just the suggestion of a large dog, because this poor creature's coat was matted and gray, his eyes were dull, his ribs stuck out from his sides like a washboard. "Hello there," said Jamie Creel. "You look like you could do with a bit of something to eat. If you come over here, I'll be happy to share my lunch with you." "Oh," said the dog, That's ever so kind of you, but I couldn't possibly. Well, the dog spoke with an English accent because it was an English setter dog. Well, whatever do you mean? Said Jamie Creel. What do you mean you couldn't possibly? Oh, well, you see, I didn't always look like this, you know. I once cut a rather fine figure of a dog, in fact. But about a month ago, something happened. I don't know what, but suddenly I can't get anything at all down my throat. I can't swallow a thing. I don't know what the trouble is, but if I don't get some help soon, I'm not long for this world. Well, said Jamie Creel, I'm going to see the wise woman of Nachnamein to ask her why I haven't any luck. She'll answer any question you put to her. Would you like me to ask her about your trouble, too? Oh, if it's not too much bother. Indeed I will, said Jamie Creel, and he headed on up the road. And after he had traveled a week and a day, he came to a lush green grove of trees, and he thought, oh, what a fine shady spot to stop and rest for a bit. So he walked in among the trees, and right in the very center was one tree, all bent and twisted and withered and gnarly, without a single green leaf on any branch. Well, Jamie Creel stood there staring at this terrible looking tree when it spoke to him. What are you looking at? Well, the tree spoke with an English accent because it was an English walnut tree. Oh, I beg your pardon, said Jamie Creel. I didn't mean to be rude. It's just that all of these other trees are so lush and green, and you're all bent and twisted and withered and gnarly. You don't look like you belong here at all. Well, aren't you the bright one then? Why don't you tell me something I don't know? Fact is, I didn't always look like this. I used to be as healthy and green as any tree you'd ever hope to see. And then one day, a few months ago, something happened, I don't know what, but suddenly I can't get any air or water up through my roots. I'm strangling from the ground up, you might say. I don't know what the trouble is, but if I don't get some help soon, I'm not long for this world. Well, said Jamie Creel, I'm going to see the wise woman of Nachnamein to ask her why I haven't any luck. Would you like me to ask her about your trouble as well? Don't mind if you do. Indeed I will, said Jamie Creel, and he headed on up the road. And after he had traveled a week and a day, he came to a cottage. A beautiful cottage with a thatched roof and roses growing up the side, and right in front of it was this beautiful young woman tending to her roses and singing to herself. Hello there, said Jamie Creel. You must be the happiest woman in the world, for you're singing such a lovely song and you've got such a pretty voice. Oh, said the young woman, with no trace of any kind of accent at all. I wish that were true, but the fact is that even though I'm clever and brave and strong and hardworking and a good cook and a great conversationalist, I'm just not happy. I don't know why. Well, said Jamie Creel, I'm going to see the wise woman of Nachnamein to ask her why I haven't any luck. She'll answer any question you put to her. Would you like me to ask her about your trouble as well? Oh, that would be so kind of you. Indeed I will, said Jamie Creel, and he headed on up the road. And after he had traveled a week and a day, he had finally crossed 7 mountains and 7 valleys and 7 rivers and 7 streams and 7 meadows and 7 forests, and he hadn't lost his way or given up on his journey. And sure enough, right in front of him was Nachnamein Hill. And at the very top was a misty, musty rock cave where he found the wise woman of Nachnamein, who patiently listened to all of his questions, and in no time at all he was heading back down the road full of answers. After he had traveled a week and a day, he came back to the thatched roof cottage with the roses growing up the side, and once again the beautiful young woman was there in the front, singing to herself. Hello there, said Jamie Creel. I've got the answer to your question. The wise woman of Nachnamein said to tell you that the reason you're unhappy is you're lonely. She said if you just had someone to talk to and laugh with and share your joys and sorrows with, you'd be as happy as any woman has any right to be. Oh, said the woman, I never thought of that. someone to share my joys and sorrows with. Might you be that someone? Oh, no, said Jamie Creel. I haven't got time for that. I've got to go find my luck. When I asked the wise woman why I hadn't any luck, she said I had plenty of luck. She said it was all around me, and if I'll just keep my eyes open, I'll be sure to find it, so I know it's out there somewhere. And he headed on down the road. And after he had traveled a week and a day, he came back to the lush green grove of trees. He went straight to the center, straight to the bent, withered, twisted, gnarly tree. He stood right in front of it and said, "Hello there. I've got the answer to your question. The wise woman of Nachnamin said to tell you that the reason you are sick is you've got something tangled up in your roots. She said it's a big, heavy treasure chest full of gold. Some robbers buried it there when they were making their escape, but they got caught and they're in jail and they can't come back and get it. But, she said, if someone would dig up that treasure chest full of gold, your roots would be free again, and in no time at all, you'd be as lush and green as any tree has any right to be." Is that a fact? If someone would dig up the treasure chest, might you be that someone? Oh, no, I haven't got time for that. I got to go find my luck. The wise woman said I had plenty of luck. She said it was all around me, and if I'll just keep my eyes open, I'll be sure to find it. So I know it's out there somewhere. And he headed on down the road. And after he had traveled a week and a day, he came back to the clear blue stream of water, and right next to it, so poor and sick it could barely lift its head, was the old dog. "Hello there," said Jamie Creel. "I've got the answer to your question. The wise woman of Nachnamin said to tell you that the reason you can't swallow is you've got something stuck in your throat. She said it's the core of an apple from a tree that grows near here, the tree of golden apples of perfect health. She said you must have got hold of one somehow, and when you tried to swallow the apple, the core got stuck down in there. But, she said, if someone would reach down in there and pull out that apple core, not only would you be able to swallow again, but that someone could plant those apple seeds, grow their own tree of golden apples of perfect health, and if they ate just one of those apples every day, they'd never be sick a day in their life." "That's extraordinary. Might you be that someone?" "Oh, no, haven't got time for that. I got to go find my luck. The wise woman said I had plenty of luck. She said it was all around me, and if I'll just keep my eyes open, I'll be sure to find it, so I know it's out there somewhere." And he headed on down the road. And after he had traveled a week and a day, he came back to the village where he began. He went straight to the park in the middle of the town square and was sitting there listening as people were talking, when suddenly who should show up but his good friend Thomas McKittrick. "Hello there, Thomas," said Jamie Creel. "How are you, my friend?" And as always, Thomas replied, "Tip top, tip top. I'm a lucky man. How was your journey, Jamie?" So Jamie told him all about the sick dog and the withered tree and the lonely girl. And Thomas McKittrick stood there with his mouth hanging open. "Jamie," he said, "what are you doing here? Why didn't you rescue the dog and dig up the treasure and marry the girl?" Jamie Creel couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Thomas," he said, "I haven't got time for that. I've got to go find my luck. The wise woman said I had plenty of luck. She said it was all around me, and if I'll just keep my eyes open, I'll be sure to find it, so I know it's out there somewhere." And he stood up, put his cap on his head, and was just about to head on down the road when he suddenly remembered. "Oh, Thomas," he said, "I nearly forgot to give you the answer to your question. The wise woman of Nachnamin said to tell you that the luckiest thing that'll ever happen to you is having me for your friend." And Jamie Creel headed off down the road, and Thomas McKittrick headed on up the other way. And in that thatched roof cottage, with their treasure chest full of gold, their tree of golden apples of perfect health, and the pleasure of each other's company, Thomas McKittrick and the beautiful young woman lived together as happy as any two people have any right to be. And Jamie Creel, he's still wandering the world. In fact, If you're riding along some country road and you see somebody walking along the side of the road, it might be Jamie Creel, still out there looking for his luck.